I think we need to be focusing on the right things in order to build our confidence, focusing on the right things that are going to contribute to our growth and doing the hard things. Every time we do something that's hard, it's going to help us to become more confident. And so that might be taking an ice bath. That might be walking around, doing a couple of miles when it's hot outside. It might be writing something that's outside of your comfort zone that you've never written before, shared something. It might be going on stage. And so I think we need to recognize what is the level of hard that we're willing to go through to build our confidence up to where we want it to be. Because the more hard things that we incorporate into our life, the more confident we're going to become, the more influence we're going to be able to make in the world, and the greater opportunities to create changes. Confidence, in the end analysis, it's really all about taking action.
Welcome to Her Unshakeable Confidence with dynamic mother-daughter duo Simone and Olivia Knego, where they discuss the secrets of transformation and how to build bold confidence and unwavering resilience. From intimate conversations with inspiring guests to sharing their personal journeys of triumph and challenge, Simone and Olivia create a supportive space where every woman is encouraged to rise above her fears and love the woman in the mirror. Tune into Her Unshakeable Confidence and join this special journey of connection and growth. It's like catching up with old friends who inspire you to be bravely and uniquely you.
Welcome to this week's episode of Her Unshakeable Confidence. We are so happy that you've joined us today. I'm Simone Knego.
And I'm Olivia Knego.
And today we have a very special guest, Genesis Hey Crick. She is a dynamic executive business coach and high-performance strategist dedicated to empowering high-profile women. As the founder and CEO of Dream, Ignite, Build, Genesis provides coaching, community, and connection to established business owners and individuals ready to achieve significant growth and success. She is also a best-selling author known for her impactful books like Unleash Your Potential and Slaying Tampa Bay. Genesis has been featured as a guest expert on ABC 7, Atlanta 57, Bloom TV, and Fox 13, sharing her expertise on current events. With over a decade of experience working with entrepreneurs, moms, and high-level executives, Genesis is a sought-after speaker who has inspired audiences worldwide with her message of hope and new beginnings. Genesis is also a huge advocate for women's health and personally has been impacted by BII, breast implant illness, and Hashimoto's disease, and constantly works to bring awareness to preventative measures. She is a thrill seeker and adventurous spirit, finding joy in writing her next book, planning adventures, and cherishing moments with her 4 children over cappuccinos and cake pops. I love cake pops. Genesis, thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, absolutely. Great to be here with both of you.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you here. I want to start with something that always pops up. So Genesis and I know each other from Sarasota. So we spoke at an event together. Then I've been to an event that she put on, and we're actually going to be collaborating in a book called Slaying Sarasota that will come out later this year, which we're so excited about. But every time I meet her, first of all, you radiate such positivity. But I want to talk about your name because you have a very unique name, Genesis Hey Crick. I mean, tell me about your name because I'm always thinking, I want to know, and I haven't asked you.
So I am the firstborn. So that's where Genesis comes from, new beginning. And I had, as you can imagine, anything and everything coming at me from a child. People called me Sega Genesis. Is that a stage name? So a lot of people didn't believe that it was my real name, but I loved its uniqueness. And I will say that people remembered me. And so I have used the name in so many different ways because I feel like it contributes to who I am as a person, very much my personality, just in terms of helping people to create, to innovate, to start something, to potentially begin again, maybe having to completely start over in life. And I feel that it's been such a blessing. It's really opened the door for me, not only to have a uniqueness, kind of a unique edge, but also to really, more than that, to be an inspiration, to make impact, to share a vision with people, that I truly want them to recognize that through anything that they've been through, they can create a new beginning. And so that's part of my message in just who I am as a person, how I run my business and my friendships, and my relationships in general. And Hey,
Yeah.
my last name. Um, so Hey, we actually came from France. Interestingly enough, it used to be De La Haye, and then when we came over, I can't tell you the exact year. It was quite a few generations ago, but they dropped the De La, and then it was just became Hey. So I want to say it was at least 4 or 5 generations back that the Hey was still excuse me, that it was just Hay. But it is a fun name. And so Genesis Hay growing up. And so I was married in 2015. And so I became Genesis Hey Crick. And I just keep the Hay because I love the heritage and the history behind it
Mhm.
and just having that connection.
Along with your name, I'm like reading over your bio. You have a couple of letters attached to it. Would you explain what those are, the MA and the CLC?
Sure, sure. Yep. So the MA is actually part of a master's program, Master's in Organizational Leadership. So I don't usually put MAOL because it's
Hmm.
kind of long. So I put MA, but it is organizational leadership, and I did have a specific concentration in training and developing people. So just absolutely loved it. I always tell everyone if I could go back again and do the whole thing all over, I absolutely would. Just, training people, learning about people, personalities, connections, team building, just so fascinating, so much psychology behind it. And then CLC was certified life coach. So I went through the Life Purpose Institute, loved that as well. It was a 6 month program and met so many incredible other coaches through it. And just, yeah, I mean, it's something that I utilize every single day. I think about all the great resources and tools I was given. But what I will say with both of those is that life experience has been the most profound thing for me, more than anything else. I am such a proponent for just looking at every single day and asking myself, what am I learning here? What do I need to find out? What do I need to figure out? How can I grow? How can I help someone else through the pain that I'm experiencing? So I will say that I'm definitely a huge advocate for recognizing that we're always, when we feel like we have a setback, we are failing forward. We're never failing backwards, that we're creating something, we're developing something, we're moving into this new space. And whenever it's one step back, it's 2 steps forward. And so I'm just, I would consider myself really a lifelong learner, a sponge taking things in every single day. And so, though I have those titles behind my name, I feel like the most important thing is just experiencing life in general and gleaning from that and utilizing those skill sets every single day, because people and relationships are what's most important.
And I think that for everyone listening, it's such an important message because a lot of times we get intimidated or overwhelmed thinking, well, I don't have that title. I can't apply for this job or I can't do this. And that's not true, right? I mean, the titles are great, right? I mean, you've put in the work, but I love what you said about the life experience because everybody has a story. Everybody has something that they could use towards their goals and use to help other people. And I think it's important that we always remind ourselves of that and not feel intimidated that we don't have the right letters behind our name to be able to do something different.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And as I said, so many of the skill sets that I now use today, we had a lot of great resources. We had a lot of great tools that we worked through. But again, working in building relationships, working in life experience from, whatever hardship comes our way, whatever setback we're experiencing at the time, and just taking that for whatever it is and applying it to the day to day and utilizing that. I feel like that's where I've had my greatest growth,
Mm.
not through education. So yes, I will say that for anyone out there. And you can find information anywhere. That's the beautiful thing. You can go on YouTube and you can get educated. You can sit and have a conversation and you can get educated. So there's so many different ways to do it. It's just deciding what kind of skill sets do I want to improve. And I love the fact that we're living in a world now where we can gain skills from wherever we want.
It's so
It's such
true.
an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's so true. And even things like, even if we're not talking professionally, but personal growth or hobbies, like this year, Olivia learned how to crochet.
Hmm. Just from the internet. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That is so cool. So
Yeah.
I learned how to knit when I was young, but I've never learned how to crochet.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
It's honest. I would say crocheting's easier than knitting because it's one needle versus two. But yeah, I learned completely through the internet, which
So
is
do you
kind of
do that now?
insane.
Do you have some that you like some blankets and stuff that you've made or?
Yes, I have stuff all over my house. Actually, I had people over and I had my balcony open. And just from like seeing the crochet blanket hanging off the chair, like that was in my living room, they were like, "Oh my God, that's her apartment, isn't it?" And they were like able to get my attention. And I was like, "Oh, that is so funny." But yeah, I have crocheted stuff all over my apartment, actually. Or
Very
not
cool.
most, but a good amount of my decorations because I'll just sit there and crochet it and then I'll have something for my house. And I love doing it. But
See,
actually,
it's all
like,
available.
yeah, on that mom, like it is pretty cool. Like that I've never had that kind of experience before where I've just like picked up something completely new for no reason besides wanting to do it. And then the way I was able to learn it without like a mentor or any schooling, just able to do it by myself. And
Mm.
I don't really recognize that enough. I recognize that I've gotten a lot better at it. Like I was thinking about that a couple days ago, but not the fact that I just did it by myself.
Yeah, I think when we do stuff like that, it's such a huge accomplishment, and we don't give ourselves credit for stuff like that. But to Genesis' point of where you can kind of learn anything out there right now and things that can really help you. So, like when I look at you with your crocheting, it's very much it's a mental health thing, right? It's
Oh
something
yeah.
that relaxes you. It's something that so finding something that you love to do, but it also serves a dual purpose.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I mean it's so good for me, honestly, just to like sit down and like I feel more productive in my day than I would otherwise. I guess it gives me a sense of satisfaction because I'm genuinely doing something in like my raw time or my self time rather than just like sitting on the couch, which I always kind of felt a dissatisfaction from before.
which I
I
kind
love
of
that too, because I was just going to say it's something you can actually see progressing.
Yeah,
It's growing, it's getting bigger,
I love the tangibility of it.
and seeing the colors flow and oh my gosh, it's so fun.
which kind of leads me into my next question about, day-to-day pressures and challenges. So everybody, well, I wouldn't say everybody has a different way of dealing with things. Some people don't deal with things, and that's, a big conversation to have. Obviously, Liv, you use your crocheting as an outlet. So how do you, Genesis, deal with day-to-day pressures, and what recommendations do you have for our listeners about what they can do?
So I just want to put this out there for anybody that's listening. And I know that we all have a busy schedule. We all have a lot going on. So I first and foremost just want you to take a step back from all of that for a minute. And this is what I do daily. I literally step back from my to-do list and I center myself and I reflect on who I am as a person. And I remind myself that regardless of what's on the to-do list, regardless of all the things that I'm setting out to accomplish today, that doesn't change who I am as a person, whether or not those things are accomplished. So I start with a daily preparation talk where I I discuss my affirmations. I look at my goals. I sit in gratitude for a few minutes. And by doing those three things every single day, it helps set the tone for everything else that I'm going to do. And I love talking about pressure. And I want to talk about pressure because I feel that so many of us are under it constantly. And so, in order for us to recognize that we don't have to be that, we have to create separation from that attachment that we have to the outcome. And I think if we recognize that every little thing is through that detachment, if we recognize it as a separate entity than who we are as a person, then we're going to feel so much more peace and contentment inside our heart. And so that's the big shift that I've had in this last year, is that I don't have to be defined by anything that I'm doing, but rather the intention, rather the goals that I'm looking at for the future as I'm working towards them, and I'm accomplishing something little by little. I can recognize those celebrations, but I'm not defined by it. So there's like a big difference between having them and then saying that's my identity. That's who I am in that. And so if we release ourselves from the pressure and rather focus on that morning routine and the things that are really going to help us to soak up what is in our identity. And that is, for me, it's a spiritual thing. I feel harboring all those other thoughts that are going to be experienced throughout the day. It'll be so much easier to release yourself from that, from those negative thoughts, from things that come into your space that try to prevent you from taking action, from moving forward. And so there's a lot of different things when we talk about mindset, where if we shift our focus, everything can change immediately. So one of the things that I was actually writing this morning, and it focuses on, if I execute this behavior today, is it going to make me better or worse tomorrow? And I think that recognizing all the things that we're working on throughout the day, good, bad, or ugly, whatever it is, it's going to affect us in some capacity. And when I say bad or ugly, and I'm adding those into the equation, they can be things that are preventing us from being successful, from preventing us from moving forward, from preventing us from our growth. And so let me think of what an example of this would be. So you're constantly doing something that's a drudgery for you. So for example, I'm picking up my kids' clothes every single day. I'm allowing myself to do that. I'm letting myself to be in that headspace. I'm frustrated about it. I don't want to do it. I could be doing something else with my time. And I'm not addressing the issue at hand. I'm not taking care of what needs to be taken care of by having that conversation that needs to be had. So I'm just adding it to my schedule. I'm throwing it in there because it's something that I know I can tackle. I know it's something that I can do. But I'm not holding anyone else accountable to it. And this can be in business too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's so important for us to recognize that there are other outlets, there are other options, there are other things that we can do in order to bring ourselves back to center, get more people involved, outsource, creating separation, creating that detachment. And through all of these different strategies, we can find ourselves in such a different headspace. I know that was like a big, long, huge answer, but I'm covering a bunch of different things because pressure is so generalized. And I think that we can feel pressure with anything. We can feel pressure dropping our kids off at school because we want to look a certain way. We can feel pressure to be on time because, we're running a couple minutes late. We could feel pressure to have every single thing on our schedule perfected in that specific time block. So it can come in many forms, but I want us to recognize that we are in complete control of our schedule. We are in complete control over everything that we say yes to.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wanted to just really quick address saying no. And a lot of us are afraid to say no. We feel like if we say no, we're going to hurt someone's feelings. And I heard on a podcast actually this morning, which was so incredibly encouraging, that saying no it's empowering. When you're able to say no, it gives you the ability to recognize that you have the ability to say things that are important to you. You get to speak out and be recognized for who you are and what matters to you, what values you have. And it can be no in a way that's comfortable for you. Like you can say, you don't have to be like, no, I can't hang out today. No, I'm not gonna be able to do that. But rather your own no. And I love that because I I think that we think no just automatically means like bad. Like,
Mhm.
we
Comes with
shouldn't
a
say it.
sense of it comes with a
Yeah.
sense of guilt, I think, for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yes.
And we need to kind of erase that, right? Because when you say no to things that you don't want to do, because I am a big believer in you need to ask yourself what you want. When you say no to things that you don't want to do or that you feel like you can't do in this moment because you have too much other things going on, it opens the door for opportunities for you to say yes to the things that you really want.
Yes, absolutely. And that no can just be like, no, I'm sorry, not today. And then we move on. And I think that there is I mean, for us setting that boundary for ourselves, it then allows us to make that next best decision for us. And again, it's not that it's just about our schedule. It's not just about um, what we want, but rather what's best for the circumstance right now. Is this going to make sense for what we're trying to achieve? If we're trying to make big impact, if we're really trying to set the tone and help people to appreciate us and respect us, then we also have to acknowledge what we need when we need it.
Going back to you were talking about even the example of the kids' clothes on the floor and just going through and picking them up. And I think I know I do this a lot, and I'm sure many women out there do this a lot, where we find it easier just to do it ourselves because the conversation's going to take this long,
Hmm.
or this is going to take this long, so I'll just do it. But the problem is, if you do all of it, you just can't do all of it, right?
Yeah.
Other people have to be accountable. You say,
It's
yeah, Liv, but you know,
I just, it's easier to do things yourself because sometimes the standard I have of just like care, cleanliness is higher than what the other person is. And it's just like, it's too much of an argument. It's not even an argument, it's too much of a conversation. It's just easier.
but if you do that with every single thing, there's no way you're going to finish your day.
Well, yeah, I don't have a solution there.
I was just gonna say that I think in situations like that, more work is required up front.
Hmm.
And that's the unfortunate circumstance and what it is. But if we put in the work up front and we hold them accountable to what we're trying to help them to put into place down the road, they're gonna get it. And it's gonna take a little while probably to instill that habit. But that's something that we've been working on around our house a lot is picking up the clothes, is bringing your dish over, is putting your dish in the dishwasher. Um, little things make a big difference. Anything that one does, multiply it by four. And that's four pairs of clothes I'm going to be picking up on a daily basis. And I know, Simone, I know you get that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so I've been of the mindset, do the hard work now, make them accountable, and then later on get to reap the rewards. And so that's just really what I've really been focusing on as much as I can lately. Finally, I've gotten it where I'm not going to just continue to bring everything up the stairs and hope hope someday somebody's just going to bring it, putting it at the bottom of the stairs and hope that it just eventually goes to the top. No, I finally actually got this idea from my organizer. She said, take a bin, keep it at the bottom of the stairs, and label it, put the kid's name on it. If they bring the toys downstairs, have them put the toys back in there, and they get to bring their bin up every single day. And then that's part of their routine. And I'm like, that's brilliant. They don't have all these like miscellaneous things, hanging out all over the place.
Yeah, we had an experience with, my kids are the two that are still at home are teenagers, and I don't mind doing laundry for them, right? They know how to do it, but if I'm there, I'm doing it. I don't really care. But they have to put it away. And if they want me to do it, they have to bring it down, right? I'm not going to go searching to see if their laundry bin is full. And that really started because one of the kids, we won't name, they said to me, I have nothing to wear. And I was like, that is not my responsibility. Like, you are old enough to bring everything down. You cannot be upset at me. So here's what you're going to do from now on. You know, you choose 2 days a week that you're going to bring your laundry down. If you bring it down, I will do it. If I'm out of town at an event, you have to do it yourself. And just that worked so well because I don't want to be blamed for something that is not my responsibility, right? They're old enough that they can do these things. But I think sometimes we feel guilty or we feel, oh, oh my gosh, they're out of clothes. That's my fault. I'm the mom. I should have been doing this. But we do have to give our kids responsibilities because they go off to college and they have to do it all themselves.
Right. Yeah, I can't tell you how many people when I went off to college didn't know how to do their own laundry.
Oh my
And
God, yeah.
it's, it's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
even then, I can only imagine now things have probably gotten a little bit worse.
Yeah. The funny part was so our son Ari, who is now a sophomore in college, when he first got there, like we went and we looked at the laundry room and he knew how to do laundry. He goes to do it the first day and he calls me and he's like, which one's the washer? Which one's the dryer? And I was like, oh my gosh, are you
Mm.
serious? That is the question you're asking me? And I was like, I'm just going to laugh at you right now. You figure it out. Show me open the doors. And he was like, okay, now it makes sense. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm an enabler.
But
So
it's
yeah,
just
go ahead.
natural instinct, as a mother, it's something that you just want to do. I think it's kind of one of those nurturing qualities that we have. We just naturally want to take care of our kids, and that's part of it is washing their clothes, taking care
Right.
of their clothes, folding,
Yeah.
putting away. But absolutely, I believe that there is a balance in that. And my mom did a lot for us. She was a stay-at-home mom. She did not work, and I appreciate her so much. But she, again, it was very similar to that. Like we didn't throw our clothes on the floor per se, but it was more or less like, I got your laundry. I want to do this for you, and so I I look at that and I'm like, and then this is something that I would also like to touch on that our generation is different. There's many more working moms.
Mhm.
There's moms that are just in different roles.
Hmm.
And so I think that that's so important for us to recognize that we are not our moms. And it's that for a long time was hard because my mom's an amazing cook. She has everything perfect. Our beds are always made. And um, as a working parent and trying to manage all of the things, there are certain aspects of that are different that from what I provide and can provide for my kids versus what she could. So I think that there's a really important distinction into recognizing that we all are our own people and we all are our own parent and mother and that's okay and to really fully truly embrace who we are doing the best that we can giving 100% of whatever we can when we can and not comparing to that because today things are different and and I think that there is a sweet simplicity and just recognizing that the attention that we pay to our families is what's really most important is just having
Hmm.
that interaction. And I would rather do that than be cleaning up and having like the house in perfect condition, if you will.
Yeah, I agree. I do the things I need to do, right? It's not like the house is dirty, but I'm not so worried about everything being exactly where it needs to be all of the time. Sure, do I want things put away? Of course, but I'm not going to miss out an opportunity to spend time with my kids because I'm going to focus on making sure everything is in the right place, right? We only have so much time with them at home,
Hmm.
and I want to spend the time and I can worry about the cleaning up later. And now, I mean, they're old enough, they do it all themselves. So, luckily. So,
Yeah.
you mentioned the word balance before, and this is something Liv and I bring up a lot to people
Hmm.
because I just kind of want to get your take on it because I'm more of a juggler. I don't necessarily believe in balance because I feel like we're either spending more time on one thing each day, like overall a balanced life. But in the moment, there could be a day where I have much more work to do and much less time to do the family stuff. And then the next day, it's much more family stuff and less time at work. So kind of just wanted to get your take on what you think balance is and what you work with on your clients for balance.
That's a great question. And I was asked, what are my non-negotiables? When I was at an event the other day, we were doing an open discussion. And the truth is that my non-negotiables are different almost every day.
Mm.
And it's not that I'm keeping them consistent across the board 24/7. Now, one thing that's really important to me is my health, my physical health. So I do try to work out once a day for 30 minutes. That's a very, very important thing to me. I do try to make time for my prayer time, my meditative state, and that's usually in the morning. Morning routine, I will say, is as consistent as it possibly can be. So I do like typically 3 to 5 things in the morning where I journal, pray, meditate. I get my workout in. Sometimes I'll do the ice bath. It depends on how things are going. I drink my water. But I, as a mom of 4, life is ever changing. So I've built my schedule around my kids. And I always knew that no matter what I was going to do, I was going to build everything out around them because that was my number one priority. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing out on if there's a really important school function, if there is, a sporting activity. I'm going to look at what we've decided for them first, and then I'm going to build everything out around that. And with that being said, I also look at compartmentalizing. So compartmentalizing specific time periods, time blocks throughout the day. And my frame of reference that I give to my clients is that you get to be flexible with your schedule. I don't want them to feel like they have to have so much rigidity, 8 to 5, 8 to 7, whatever their work schedule is, so that they can't feel that they have flow. They can't feel that they have space to be able to breathe, to be able to reset. And so I tell them this. I said, okay, pick 3 things, pick 3 priorities every single day and make them movable. So pick, for example, 8 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And that specific thing can be moved and do both of those time slots. Same thing for all 3 things. And what that does is it frees you up mentally because you're not panicking that this is an absolute essential thing that has to be done at that time every single day. And then it allows you the freedom to be able to make changes where necessary. Now, there's always going to be things like, for example, today, I mean, this is, we chose 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. That's what we're committed to. But the majority of things can be moved around unless it's a meeting, an event, things like that. So throughout your day, if you think about it in that way, again, that gives you that freedom of mind where you can say, well, if it doesn't work out here, then I can put it over here. For me, flexibility has been such a key in allowing me to add, kind of referring back to that pressure state of mind. It's allowed me the ability to separate myself from that so that I'm not just constantly pressured by time blocks 24/7, because I used to operate like that. I used to operate like I have to get this done in this 10-minute increment time. But with those flexible time things or time spaces, I do sit down and I set my timer and I'm organized with those times. So whatever I decide that I want to be intentional on those specific times, I can get dialed in with deep work. So it doesn't have to be like I'm just like, it's like a free for all.
Yeah.
No, when I choose a time and I'm sitting down, whether I'm, working on a book, whether I'm recording something, I am in that space. So I've removed the distractions from that space. So I'm not getting bombarded by other things, whether it's on the phone, whether it's, and typically when I'm doing this kind of thing, I'm alone anyway. But just for us to recognize what our environment is, because I really truly feel that we don't rise to the level of our goals, but we rise to the level of our environment. So whatever our environment is, that's going to make a huge difference for our overall productivity and just how much we can succeed on a daily basis.
Makes complete sense. I think about that a lot. That, like, for example, where I record is in this room. So this used to be the kids' playroom. It's actually hilarious because there's still like all kinds of Legos and stuff in that half of the room. But I have another office. I have an office that is, I love my office. It's covered in masks. It's from all over the world. And I can't use it to record in because there's too many distractions, right? I can hear the dogs. I can, the doorbell's right there, but this room is insulated so I can really focus. And so when I really need a quiet space, this is where I go because I know that I can put my head down and get my work done and not be distracted. And I do think environment plays a huge, huge role in moving towards our goals.
Absolutely. And this is the room that I'm typically operating out of, and it's just clear and white, and I can look outside, the light's coming in, the natural light, I think kind of, gives me a little bit of extra energy. And so I do think that makes a world of difference. And also the fact that we can also be mobile. So I think it's important for us to be able to get up and move our body and have some physical interaction, whether it's with the outside world or just going for a walk or just allowing ourselves to get up and move. Because part of that movement, I think, helps with the forward projection of motion. And so that gets me excited when I can take those breaks throughout the day and I can be focusing on something else and then shifting your focus. So that's another big part of what I work with my clients on is just that, when you're in that state of mind where you're in the deep work, just focusing specifically on that deep work and then not allowing these other thoughts to filter in and prevent you from moving forward and doing the thing. And I think that that's so easy to get into that headspace because when you start looking at, oh, well, I could check my Facebook or what's going on over here? You get all this stuff on your desk that's potentially things that you could be doing. And again, even having like that to-do list right there, that's such a huge distraction.
Yeah.
So removing that from your immediate space and just having clear space to just be centered and focused on whatever that is that you're doing. And then there is, you can set time to do like shallow work too. So that might be listening to a podcast and doing the dishes, things where you can multitask and it doesn't take as much brain power. And, whenever you are in that space where it's requiring deep work, you're going to have to use a lot more energy for that. So I'm always trying to think about, when I'm planning out my day, how am I going to utilize my brain power to its max capacity? Like a battery, it eventually is going to need to be recharged.
Could you talk a little bit more about Dream Ignite Builds and what that is for your clients and just some more information about it?
Yeah. So Dream Ignite Build is high performance leadership coaching where I help women entrepreneurs to scale their businesses. I help them to get more organized, efficient, proficient in all of their time management systems so that they can create better habits. They can develop better routines that are going to work for their business and for their teams. So I work with clients one-to-one. I do group coaching. I provide events for the community. I am also offering a new digital course called Accelerate Her, which is an all-encompassing mindset accelerator. So it basically helps my clients with their time management, energy management, and organizational processes and systems so that they can scale quicker. So that's what I'm currently offering now.
I love that, especially the time management piece, because that is such a big part of all of our lives, figuring out how to get the things done that we need to get done and still be able to enjoy everything in between.
Yes, exactly.
So when you're working with women, this is a favorite question we like to ask. Obviously confidence is such an important part of moving forward in our lives. What does confidence mean to you?
So confidence is steady action and forward momentum. So basically living life with powerful intention despite any underlying fears that may be coming up. And I think that this is so important because we live in a world that screams fear. It's
Mm-hmm.
everywhere, whether it's on the media or talking to people on the street. It comes from all over the place. And you can really get down the rabbit hole if you start looking on Instagram and going through the reels, and then you're like in this horrible state of mind. So I think we need to be focusing on the right things in order to build our confidence, focusing on the right things that are going to contribute to our growth and doing the hard things. Every time we do something that's hard, it's going to help us to become more confident. And so that might be taking an ice bath. That might be walking around, doing a couple of miles when it's hot outside. It might be writing something that's outside of your comfort zone that you've never written before, shared something. It might be going on stage. And so I think we need to recognize what is the level of hard that we're willing to go through to build our confidence up to where we want it to be. Because the more hard things that we incorporate into our life, the more confident we're going to become, the more influence we're going to be able to make in the world, and the greater opportunities to create changes. And I think that confidence, it in the end analysis, it's really all about taking action and doing it scared. Because I think that there's always the aspect of why don't we do something? Because there's a level of fear that's contributed to it. We don't do it because we're like, what if, what if, what if? We remove that what if and we allow ourselves to just take action regardless, we're going to know that we made that commitment to ourselves and that we took action regardless of what's coming up inside. And I would say also from a commitment standpoint, there's certain things that I didn't want to do in the past. There's been many things I didn't want to do, but I did them anyway because I made the commitment to myself. And once I did that, automatically I felt more confident. Even if it didn't turn out exactly as I was like, this is exactly how as I imagined my goal to be, I still did it. And that made me feel more powerful.
Absolutely. It's about
What is, oh,
doing the things that you think you can't, right? It's those hard things.
sorry, Mom,
Right.
I didn't see you speaking there.
Sorry, Liv. Didn't mean to interrupt you. You go. You go.
What is the hardest thing you've ever done?
The hardest thing I've ever done was move to LA. And so I was born and raised in Illinois. I lived there. I lived in a small town till I was 18, and then I actually moved to Chicagoland, lived there for about 8 years. And that was all I ever knew. All the
Mm-hmm.
connections that I had, all the relationships that I built over the course of my life, all the jobs that I'd experienced, everything was there. But I knew in my heart, my big dream was always to move to LA. And I didn't know how it was going to happen or what kind of details were going to be orchestrated in terms of that coming to fruition. But I had the opportunity at one point to move out, and it was right after I
Mm-hmm.
graduated from my master's degree. And it was basically, it was, if I don't go now, I never will. And I sat on the rooftops of one of my, it was a friend's place, and I was all by myself. And I remember looking at the sunset and thinking to myself, if I don't go now, I never will.
Mhm.
And there was something inside of me that just said, this is it. This is it. This is what you've been yearning for. This is the dream that's been on your heart for years and years and years. It's time. And when I said yes to that, it was the most powerful sensation of excitement that I've ever experienced in my life. And at the same time, it was also the most powerful level of fear that I've experienced in my life because it was brand new. And so I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with our last question, which is, doing the hard things and making that decision to go for it, regardless of fear being in the way. And I absolutely would not be where I'm at now if I didn't make that decision. I wouldn't have met incredible people that I met when I went out there, and I wouldn't have my firstborn son. So there's so many things that were meant to be by me going out there, by me saying yes to the scary and hard thing in front of me, and recognizing also in myself that I can start over and that we all can start over. This is a message to anyone that wants to try something new for your new beginning, that you can move anywhere you want, you can go anywhere you want, you can start anything that you want. If it's on your heart and it's been there and it's nudging at you, it's meant to happen. It is meant for you in this lifetime. And so I encourage anyone that's like just feeling like, well, I don't know the timing, I don't know when. You're never going to feel like there's exact perfect moment.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
with it.
I agree. So, what's the best advice a woman in your life ever gave you? I'd be interested to hear if it's your mom, an aunt, a friend. Um, I know I give great advice every day, right, Liv? Every
Yep.
day. Yeah, I give some bad advice too, but what's the best advice someone's given you?
The best advice would be from my mother. And she's, as you, Simone, she's always giving great advice. I can go to her with anything. She's my best friend. I can call her up anytime, any day, and we can talk about everything. But the greatest piece of advice that she ever gave me was that no matter what happens, everything's going to be okay. And it's so simple, but yet so profound. And that is how I've always lived my life, because I've been through many, many ups and downs, been through the trenches. And I always go back to that in my head, that no matter what happens to me, it's all going to work out. It's all going to be okay.
I think
And
that's such an important piece of advice because, especially when we're going through something tough or we feel like we're a failure, we're not a failure, right? We might have failed at something, but it's understanding the moving forward that you will reach the next thing.
exactly. And I say that to my kids too. I've passed that on, and I say that to them all the time when especially when they're having a tough day. And the energy that you feel from them, it's so powerful. It's like this release. They just are ready to embrace, they open up, they can breathe. And it's just such a beautiful statement.
I love that. So, Liv, it is time for your
Okay.
calendar. So, we end every episode with before, we'll have people, you can tell people where to find you, but we end every episode with Olivia's Unf Yourself calendar to see what quote it gives us for the day.
Real love seeks nothing in return. It's not a burden or tainted by wants or needs. It's a magical, singular way of being that only requires an outlet, a place to be expressed, and it's on you to express that thing.
Mm, I love that. I don't know if it completely connected this time, but
No, but
it's with loving
it's
yourself,
sweet.
right? I mean, I think there's so much value in talking about real love, right? And talking about the love that we have for ourselves. So everything, I imagine, as a coach that you are doing is to really help people love who they are and embrace who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, so Genesis, where can people find you?
So they can reach me at genesisspeaks.com is my website, or you can reach me directly at genesis@genesisspeaks.com is my email. So feel free to send me an email, visit my website. I've got all kinds of new courses and things that are going to be coming out, so you can stay tuned for that. Of course, I'm on all the socials, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, working on developing a YouTube channel and Instagram too.
So we will put all of her information in the show notes and please reach out to her. And she's an amazing coach. She does amazing work in our community and beyond. And I'd love for you guys to connect with her. Thank you for being here, Genesis. And thank you to our audience for for every woman out there who's listening, always remember that you are unshakable. I hope you have a great week.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Her Unshakable Confidence with Simone and Olivia Knego. We hope this episode has made your day just a little bit brighter and given you the inspiration you need to confidently go about your week. Always remember to be authentically you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to connect with them on Instagram at Simone Knego and at Olivia Knego. Till next time.